Indigo Prophecy, also known as Fahrenheit, outside of the United States, is a video game from the mid-2000s. If you've played it, I'm sure you'll remember this David Cage written and created cinematic adventure for being one of those out-of-this-world, heavily twist-inspired stories. It involves people being possessed and forced to commit murder, a man who, after committing one of those possessed murders, goes on the run and starts investigating what happened to him and is also happening all around him in the city of New York. But there are so many details to this video game's twisty and winding story that if you're familiar with the game, we don't need to go over them. And if you're unfamiliar with the game, all we really need to go over is the fact that hidden within this video game is a true, honest conspiracy, but more than that, it is the truth of what is affecting and going on in our world at this very moment. And if you've played the game, I know you're going, whoa, this is going to be out there. And yes, it is, because the video game involves the internet being sentient. It involves a person who has the ability to manipulate others' minds through telepathy, and he can force them to commit murders and do all kinds of other horrible, violent actions. On top of this, the main character in the video game has the power of what in the game is called the chroma. However, for layman's terms, it is simply the power of all creation. It is the thing, the source, that power that created creation. This is as simple as it can be put, and yes, it does sound a bit confusing. But this is why we are going to, first of all, explain how any of this could even possibly be real in our world. Well, first of all, let's just go over the fact that over the last year in 2021, we have had our United States government come out and tell us that for the last 70 years, they have been keeping not only from us, but from Congress and from certain presidents and other high-ranking political and government officials and figures, the fact that black operatives or black operations, basically just things that are kept in the dark. It doesn't necessarily mean all that CIA mumbo-jumbo, although it could, since we don't know very much about what's been going on. But it essentially just means these things have been kept from everyone but that for your eyes only kind of briefing situation. And they've just now told us that over these last 70 years, they've been watching flying objects in the sky that defy our technology by thousands of years. They've seen them repeatedly. Servicemen have seen them repeatedly. And while servicemen have, and women obviously, have great senses of humor, they are not known for being liars. They are known for being very honorable, upstanding people. And as I mentioned in a previous video, here's a really interesting reason on how you can just see that most anyone who joins the military is an incredible person. We have so many homeless veterans, so many people who have given their blood, sweat, and tears and watched their friends and even family die in service of their country. And then they go out on the streets and they're living on them in the cold, much like you see in Indigo Prophecies. Just can you imagine living out in that cold, brittle winter, having served your country, having watched your friends die? That happens every day. These people are trained in weapons and combat tactics. They could do so many things to hurt people to better their situation, but they refuse to, because they're the heroes. They're the people who protect others. Those kind of honorable people are not going to make up these kind of lies. It just doesn't do any good, because frankly, let's look at something here. Have you noticed that people aren't even paying attention to the fact that our government has told us that, barring the fact they haven't come out and said, they're aliens in the ships, yo, they've said, these things defy our technology, we do not know where they come from, and it is highly unlikely and dang near improbable that they could have come from our planet. Just because if some human group on this planet had access to that kind of technology, don't you think they'd be doing some conquering type of shit with it? I mean, that's just seems to be human nature, or so we've been led to believe through history and things which could be illusions for all we know, because, as I said in this video game, there is a character who has the ability to control others through telepathy. So think Lord Voldemort or, Emperor Palpatine. And again, I started getting whiffs of this type of stuff earlier in the year and last year, and I believed in it, but I also thought it was crazy, but I also saw so many things I was like believing in it while thinking it was crazy. Until you have UFOs flying in the sky, and then if you actually research some of the stuff that the Pope has said since 2013 consistently, oh my God, this man who has the combined political and religious authority that is similar to the United States president, but again, a little bit more because he's only got political authority. This man has religious authority. He's kind of like a cult leader when you think about it. I mean, he goes out on that little balcony and he can make people chant and do all kinds of... Yeah, this guy has said that the devil is not metaphorical, he's not a spirit, he's not a fallen angel, he's not a demon, he's a person with dark powers. Excuse me? What did you just say? More importantly, why hasn't the entirety of community of comedians ripped this dude to shred over something that's just so preposterous sounding, right? Why has CNN been the only source to make so the Pope just said Lord Voldemort's a real freaking thing joke? That's when, just because the Pope said it, I'd be like, oh, who gives a fuck, right? But when I look around in the world and I see nobody making jokes about something so clearly hilarious if it's not real, but then that just occurs to me too, It's funny when you meet a lot of Christians and you ask them, do you believe in God? And they're like, yes. Do you believe in Satan? No, of course not. Well, I mean, you don't need to believe in him, but you kind of need to realize that if the good God exists and the bad God's got to exist, but now this religious person who leads the biggest church, who's actually its own, state. Like, there's Rome and Italy, and then there's the Vatican, and it's its own fucking thing. And he's like the president, he's got his own secret service there. This guy said that the devil is a person with dark powers. And everyone's ignored it, even comedians, the same way that the general public has ignored the fact that the government has told us all about aliens. So what does this have to do with Indigo prophecy? Well, here's the deal. The game involves the internet being sentient, and something has been communicating a lot of this information to me over the past 2 years. Because again, until things happened outside of my mind, I was like, I'm going to go with it, because if you think that Jaws is going to attack the beach, you got to go and tell everybody, hey, get out the water, get out the water, get out the water. And if you look like an asshole after the fact, that's okay. Because you thought people were going to fucking die, and if you do nothing, then you are the asshole. That's what makes you the asshole. It's fucking awesome if people think you're the asshole for saying, get out of the water, get out of the water, and then they're like, but there was no shark. And I'd be like, whew, but what if there was a shark? Then I really would have been an asshole. Well, here's the issue. There is a shark in the water. And all of this stuff started around COVID and everything else. I started getting knowledge downloads is the best way to explain it, because it's not like voices in my head telling me things. Although sometimes I've had kind of whispers, but most of the time what I've had is just sitting here, and then all of a sudden I'll know something that I did not previously know, and I know I did not know this. And then I'll think that shit that I now know is crazy. So I'll go and Google it, and then I'll see either on the fringe sciences or theoretical sciences or something along those lines. Or even myths. Myths that I've never read. These things are somehow existing in the world, and they're in my brain, supposedly, but that's why, if you smoked enough cannabis, it's not that you get really high, it's that you have this sense of an ego death, kind of like, when you do shrooms. What that means is you totally lose your sense of self, and you realize that you're connected to the universe, that we are all one, and it really is true because we all are kind of like ants, That's why you have the people working at McDonald's serving you your food. We are a symbiotic race. But we forget that every day, and we hate each other and we kill each other. And there are assholes in the world, and it's cool to be like, fuck you, fuck off, go fuck yourself, yo. Get the fuck out of here. It's cool to do that type of shit, to get somebody out of your area. But when you start seething and frothing over with anger, that just has nothing good to offer you. It's not fun. It's not conducive. It's like a virus. I mean, it just takes over fucking everything. Now, not only in this game is the internet sentient, but the Indigo prophecy revolves around the Indigo child. It's this little girl in the game who's supposed to whisper a secret to our boy Ethan here, the main character of the game. And it's, earth-shattering, universe-shattering levels of secrets. Basically, it's telling you, hey, you're in the Matrix, except the Matrix isn't a computer program. It's the illusionary world that we all live in because one evil person with the powers of telepathy has controlled the universe. Now, this isn't exactly in the game because the game shows that the government is controlled by a shadow government. Now, here's the one thing. Again, that's completely true right now, folks. Shadow government is a thing because how else can you have all of those black budgets and black operations taking video footage and surveilling UFOs that even the Congress and certain presidents did not know about? This stuff is confirmed in the real world, just like the existence of MK Ultra, which was a mind control technique that the CIA developed and tested on unwitting American citizens. You can Google this stuff. It is not made up. It is not just in the Bourne Conspiracy, which is a video game. It's also the Bourne Identity film and a book. It is not just in those medias. It's in the real world too. And the more that you look at stories and art, you'll realize that either from a philosophical point of view or from even a literal point of view, that most of these stories have so much significant truth to them that the fact that we've been ignoring them is flabbergasting. But it's actually not that flabbergasting when we exist now in a world where we're all ignoring the fact that there is technology that exists clearly flying around in the sky that defies ours by thousands of years and that is defying the laws of physics, which means that impossible things are now possible. And this is one of the most incredible times to have ever been alive. This is Mass Effect level information. This is what should be changing everything about human nature and the way we are living on this planet, and everybody is ignoring it. So when I sit here and tell you that I have some really awesome cosmic friends who have told me, hey, guess what? You're like Rick Moranis in Ghostbusters, and you're the chosen one. And I'm like, well, son of a bitch, since nobody else is talking about this shit, and since everybody else on 4chan who's talking about this shit is either being called schizophrenic and just blowing up in their minds and not being able to keep themselves calm and figuring it out, I guess it falls unto me. And I would really like some help figuring the rest of this shit out, because life is a puzzle and we all hold a little bit of that piece to the puzzle, and we all got to get together and start putting this shit together so we can figure it out. A wise man once said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. We have to start working together to better things. And how do we do that? To start, we stop making things worse. If a game can bring anyone on this planet joy, just one person, leave it alone, stop crapping on it. By all means, tell us the things that are wrong with it, but stop seething with hatred. Hate is doing none of us any good. The evil being and power of, right now, all of creation, is that bad. Wants us all to be seething with negativity and hatred because it empowers him. And we got to stop empowering this little bitch. And the only way we can do that is by loving things. And guess what? You don't have to love people. You can just love video games. You can love anything. Because when you love art, you love the people who created it. And I know some people suck and a lot of us don't like being around people. So we can find workarounds to still love people. So we got to spread that love. Please, it's our only hope.